Good morning, girls. Hello, everybody. Come on out. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Real Life on the Homestead in Ontario. We are basically experiencing the first snap of cold and, of course, snow. We actually, as a family, stopped selling farm gate eggs basically Thanksgiving weekend. And then we start keeping them for ourselves and our family. So as you can see, they choose to either be outside or come in out of the weather. And are you ready to lay and somebody's in your box? So what I do is, like I said, I don't provide them any artificial heat because or light, because I want hens to take care of themselves. I want them to feel that if they need to keep the energy for their body warmth, that then they should do that and not give us eggs. So what happens is we end up having less eggs, and we need to ensure that we have eggs all winter. I am not buying store-bought eggs. I'd rather do without. Now I'm just going around, I'm collecting my duck eggs. This is why duck eggs are dirty, is they lay them on the ground. See that? My chicken eggs are much cleaner because they lay in their nest boxes. They're just starting to lay for the day. And then we have Mr. Rooster, who was an issue before, but now is being a really good boy. He knows who's the boss. Do you see the difference in his behavior? If you haven't seen my rooster calming video, look at it in the playlist. It's important that you have roosters who respect you as the top of the flock. I'm going to actually take you inside and show you different ways to preserve the eggs. So join me today. We are going to be preserving some chicken eggs today. I have 4 dozen ready to put aside. And here's the job. I have 15 dozen duck eggs that I need to deal with. So I'm going to be showing you 2 techniques to preserve these for up to a year. I'm actually going to try to be as explicit as possible so that I feel that you're comfortable doing this. It's not a hard process, and it's an excellent process to keep in your back pocket. When a chicken lays an egg, it has a bloom. So as the chicken lays it, it's coated. And if you've ever grabbed the egg right out of the nest box, it's still moist. That bloom protects the shell of the egg and protects it from allowing air to get into the egg, which is what starts to deteriorate the egg itself. We never wash our eggs. We keep them at room temperature or in a cool place as we use them. They could be left like up to 2 months at room temperature or so, but we of course are consuming them before 2 months, so it's never an issue. And if you buy store-bought eggs, they've already been washed, so the bloom is gone. That's why you need to put them in the fridge. So that's something really good to know. When you buy store-bought eggs, you should refrigerate them unless you're going to be baking them, and then you take them out and let them come up to room temperature. But for fresh eggs, never washed, keeping them at room temperature is great. That's why we have a lot of cottagers buy our eggs throughout the summer, because they don't have to worry about fridge space. They just buy the eggs, keep them out, and use them for the weekend or how long they're up. Now, we stop selling our eggs around Thanksgiving. We sell them at farm gate, and we are no longer doing that. The reason we don't do that is as the hens stop or slow down their laying throughout the winter, we want to have eggs for ourselves. And to ensure that we have enough eggs, and I will never ever buy store-bought eggs, we're going to preserve them. Now, the first method of preserving is called water glassing. This goes back way, way back. It's a tried and true tested method.
We had eggs for a year and a half, so let's say 15, 16 months. They were still good. What happens is the yolk does lose its strength, so when you crack the egg open, the yolk is runny, but it's still good. There's nothing wrong with those eggs. Now to do this, I'm going to try to be, like I said, as explicit as possible. I do them in these small buckets. I did try doing them in the, I guess they're 5-gallon, 20-liter pails. I found that number one, the pail is way too heavy to move around. And also the weight of the eggs on top of each other starts cracking the ones on the bottom. So this is a more feasible size to use. And the idea is to preserve them, not to have anything happen to them. The other thing is, I know a lot of people use the 1-gallon jars. I find that because we're using the calcium in there, it will start to etch the glass and look foggy. So this, to me, it's a food grade bucket. These were actually used for honey, so they're great. I have cleaned it immaculately before starting. And I'm gonna just show you this process to start off. Our chickens lay pretty clean eggs. We keep the nest boxes very clean. So I just inspect every egg one by one, ensure that there's no dirt. They cannot be dirty. So I place them in the pail. See, this one has a little bit of dirt on it. It's not a lot, but you know what? I'll just put it in our basket to use, next little while. It'll just be consumed earlier. Our nest boxes are clean, so sometimes I have to make sure that there's no shavings on them, but it does keep the chickens laying nice clean eggs. And if I notice that there's see that? Just a little speck, I'm gonna leave that up. I do inspect for any cracks, of course, any pecking, which happens every once in a while, or just maybe a weak shell, because if you have a weak shell, there's a good chance in the pail here, it will crack with the weight of the other eggs. So basically all I'm doing is gently handling them, placing them on the bottom. I've got 4 dozen chicken eggs here that are ready to go. This one's got a bit of shavings that won't come off. So that meant that the bloom was sticky, and when she laid, the bloom and the shavings stuck together. It's not an issue if they're not all clean, because obviously we can use eggs now. These ones here all have a little bit of specks on them. Now you should do these with as fresh as possible. So these eggs here from the last 3 days, I would do it daily, but we've been so busy getting ready for winter that I didn't have a chance to do it earlier. And I did want to do a tutorial on this. So there's a double reason why I didn't do it yet. Once I have that first layer in the bottom of the bucket, which I do, just gonna put that aside. I am going to put that over. I'm going to do my brine. What we're going to do is use calcium hydroxide, not calcium carbonate. Now, I will put in the description box what's acceptable and what's not, so that you can refer to this in the future. You are going to use 1 liter or 1 quart of water to 1 ounce by weight, not by measurement, but by weight of your powder. Now I am going to zero out my scale
1 ounce is 30 grams, by the way. So if you're doing it in metric, 30 grams, 4 liters. Imperial, 1 ounce, 1 quart. That's your mixture. And I'm going to weigh out the 1 ounce here. And this is going into the water, just to make sure I don't make a mess here, because it's very powdery. And put a lid on here. I'm going to shake this well over the sink. You end up with this milky liquid. What this does is it coats the eggs the same as the bloom, and it just makes that coating stronger. This you just pour over your eggs, keep layering your eggs in the bucket, keep adding more liquid until you're full. We have had these keep for over a year. All we need them to do is keep until spring. So it's now November. We need them to stay good until basically March, April, when the chickens suddenly start laying like crazy again, and we are good. Now, our duck eggs, that's a different story. They are always filthy dirty. You cannot get the ducks to have clean eggs because they lay them on the ground. They lay them in their water bowls, they lay them in the shavings, they lay them in the mud, they just drop them wherever. So we need to wash these. And like I said, you need to have unwashed eggs. So what do? There's another method, and I'm going to share that with you. I'm also going to add in the lime that I use. This one is the Pickling Lime, Mrs. Wags, but you could also use hydrated lime that you can pick up in your hardware. In our area, you can get 6 kilograms of hydrated lime from the hardware, and it is $30 after tax. But if you don't need 6 kilograms of hydrated lime, this is an alternative. And what I will do with this is I will put a link on where you can pick that up. But if you want to save money, have 6 kilograms. It will keep forever. We have one in the barn. I've had it for 4 years now, and we can use it. I just had this in the house, so that's what I'm using. But I'm going to finish up the chicken eggs here, and then I will show you how I deal with the duck eggs. Now, one thing I didn't mention about the lime solution, it will settle to the bottom of the pail or glass jar or whatever you're using. That's okay. You don't need to re-stir it to try to keep the water cloudy. It'll settle down nicely, and just let it be. Take your eggs out. When you use them, take them out and wash them before you crack them open. You don't want any of that lime getting inside whatever you're going to use. And not that it's bad for you, because this is food grade. However, it's a little bitter. So just rinse off your eggs. One thing I always do when I use my eggs, as I'm about to use them, is I do a float test. And I will show you that when I'm working on the duck eggs. But right now, our pail is ready to go into the cold room. I have labeled it so that we know what's in it. And then this right now is about a third full. So as I layer more eggs, I will add more solution. And I will just put that aside and get Jamie to take it down to the cold room for me later. That is how we do our chicken eggs, which are fresh and unwashed. Duck eggs, like I said, they can get pretty dirty.
Look at that. How you deal with it? You wash them. Now, the nice thing is, I'm just going to put this aside. I do a lukewarm water solution with some dish soap. I use this 7th generation plant soap. I actually use this to wash my vegetables as well. It is fragrance free, and it's plant-based, like I said. So it is the safer choice when you're using it on food, like your fruits and vegetables. I also do my duck eggs in there. I'll put a link to this if you're interested in it. Then I get a new scrub brush. Use this, water, rub your egg until it's clean. If it's a bad spot, you can use the scrub side. Works really well. And then I rinse them. They will need to be completely dry for this process. So while it's in the water being rinsed, it's an automatic first float test. And the float test works like this. If an egg is good, it will sink to the bottom. If it's not good, it will rise to the top. So before you put them into storage, if it's not good, don't use it. If it floats completely, it's not a good egg, throw it out. If it goes halfway in your glass, that means it is getting old. If it sinks to the bottom, completely fresh, good to go. So the ones that are completely fresh, good to go, we will pack up. The ones that are halfway, we will use right away. The ones that float, we will discard, compost pile. So I'm going to show you, I already know that this one's no good because I was doing them in the sink. And these are now between today and 2 weeks because we haven't had a chance to do it. This one here, I already know is not a good egg. See how that floats? This egg is going into the compost. This one here, see how it just like sunk right to the bottom? That means it's a good egg. We will be keeping that. Now, as I said, I do this before packing them up, and then when you're ready to use them, before you crack them open, do the same thing. Just ensure that what you're going to crack open is a good egg. So I'm going to make sure that this gets put aside, doesn't get mixed up. After you've washed your eggs, ensure that they're completely dry. I usually put them out on a dish towel, dry them with a face cloth, and let them sit a little while. Once they've sat a while, I'm ready to oil them. That is how I'm going to preserve the eggs. Once you've washed the egg, the bloom is gone. We have to reintroduce a bloom, and what we're going to do it with is mineral oil. Mineral oil is make sure you get a food grade, good quality mineral oil. I buy them in these big containers because I also seal my wooden countertops with them. But you can go into any pharmacy and get mineral oil. People use it for like constipation and other medical reasons. So it's food grade. If it's on your eggs, if you're ingesting it for constipation, you're obviously going to be able to ingest it for anything else. But when you take them out, it's only on the outside shell. Crack it open, it's gone. So what I do, and I will put a link to this big jug if you want to get a larger quantity rather than the small ones, but this will last forever. You need a tablespoon of oil for every dozen eggs approximately. So you know it's going to last a long time. After I oil them, I'm going to put them in an egg carton. I've already labeled this one so we know what's in there, but the label seems to be wanting to come out. From experience, I have learned that the oil will seep into the paper and it will actually the paper will actually draw the oil out of the egg, and we don't want that. So what I'm going to do is use some plastic film wrap and line the bottom of the tray. I'm gonna oil my eggs. I have my oil in here. I just slightly warmed it in the microwave just to create a little bit more viscosity, even though it's already cool again. It's just made it that much better. I just wet my hand. Be careful, these will get super slippery once you're using the oil on it. I just cover it with oil, and I don't care if there's a lot of oil on it. It's fine, we'll keep it that way. I just cover them, place them in the carton. As you can see, one hand, and it's just, I'm still having enough oil from that first dip. See that? See how shiny they are? Just ensure that it's completely covered. A little bit more on my hand there. I'm gonna do this full dozen so that you can see how it works. I'm trying to get them all the same size just to make it easy on the box, because I've got some very large ones, as you can see. So those will go into a different box. I'm running out of wrap on this side, so let me just grab a little bit more wrap. This will actually work well for me to show you the next step. There we go. It is really slimy once you get the oil on them. And I have dropped a few in the past, so don't be surprised if that happens to you with the oily hands. Once you have them all oiled, take another piece of wrap and cover the top, and then close your carton. The reason you're doing this is you don't want the oil to be pulled out by the paper on top. Another thing you'll do, just wet my hands, I'm not getting everything greasy. You have your eggs put away like this. The oil will naturally slide down the egg to the bottom. It won't go anywhere because there's plastic wrap. So once a month, on the first of the month, take all your cartons and flip them over. The oil will again drain around, and that'll keep the egg protected. That is how you oil eggs to preserve. This will easily keep for a year, and we'll use them before a year. I will never ever use chicken eggs when I have duck eggs available for baking. They're a much more superior yolk and makes your baking much richer. So for desserts, absolutely the way to go. I do like duck eggs in other ways, but for baking, absolutely. Now I'm just thinking if there's anything else I need to mention to you. Yes, there is. We understand that there's a shortage of eggs in the US. I haven't really seen it in Canada, around our area anyway, but I have noticed that the price has gone stupid crazy high. And it's because the price of feed has gone up. If you come across a deal on eggs and you wanted to stock up, but you're a little afraid of, are they going to go bad before I get to use them? They're washed. You can do this exact same process of oiling them and storing them and keeping them for a longer period of time. So if you don't have access to fresh eggs, but you came across a good deal at the store, you can do this process. So this is a way, two ways of preserving your eggs so that you are as self-sufficient as possible. And I hope you've learned something. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I will try to always respond to all my comments. I am getting a nice following and I appreciate that. So I'm hoping that I'm able to continue to respond to every comment. But I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so yet, and share with your friends. And as always, go live your best life and have a great, great